and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney, and today I'm here to do something just a little bit different. I had some requests for a Q&A type of video, which I still find a little bit funny. But anyway, someone had suggested doing the Seamstress Tag, which was really popular probably at the end of end of 2017, maybe beginning of 2018. Or maybe it was the end of 16, beginning of 17. It's been a while. But I loved watching the videos. But of course, this was well before I was doing my videos. So anyway, I thought that would be a good intro Q&A video to do, just so you guys could get to know me a little bit better. And then if you have any questions at all at the end of it, I can maybe do another one later, like in a month or 2 months or so. Or and if they're just like a couple, I can answer them in other videos. So anyway, I want to apologize for the husky voice. I have been fighting off a head cold for almost 2 weeks now. My daughter came home from school with one, and it's one of those things that I've been staying ahead of it, like a lot of vitamins, probiotics, that kind of stuff. But I just feel like it's just going to take like one night of staying up too late, or one day sitting out at a soccer tournament in the wind and rain, which I was doing last night, for it to catch up with me. So I am trying my best, but again, I apologize for the husky voice. I'm not going to complain though, because seriously, a year ago, I was very sick a year ago, and this type of thing would have taken me down for weeks. In fact, I had pneumonia this time last year, hospital visits and all. So anyway, I'm being blessed that my immune system is staying ahead of it as much of it as it can, and we're just gonna roll with the punches. So anyway, I'm gonna be looking down in my lap a little bit. I've got my tablet here with these questions so that I can answer them, but I'll be putting them up at the bottom of the screen, so if you can understand me or whatever, you can just read them as well. So question one, there's 12 questions total. Question one, who are you? Again, my name is Whitney. I am a seamstress here in central part of the United States. I'm in Indiana. We have lived here for about 7.5 years. I talked about this a little bit in my debut video. I had been a professional seamstress since 2014. I had my own business, Tomcat Stitchery, which is where the name for this channel came from, but decided to close my doors somewhat this summer and kind of focus. I'd lost the joy in sewing for others, and my business had turned into a lot of alterations, which I do not enjoy doing. So life is too short, and decided to start this YouTube channel and steer the business in a little bit of a different direction. So anyway, that's kind of me. I've been, okay, I don't want to get into the other questions. Let's see. I am married. I've been married for 15 years this year. We've got 12-year-old twins, a boy and a girl, who just started middle school this year, 6th grade. So that's a little bit about me. Oh, and we have a dog, a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Gidget that you met in my last video. But that's kind of us in a nutshell. Question number 2, when and why did you start sewing? Okay, I have a very interesting background. So I have 2 majors from my college days. I do not have my master's. I started a master's program and then dropped out because decided I hated it, and why go to school any longer. I was still figuring things out, but I have a degree, a BS, which is a Bachelor's of Science in Finance, and I have a Bachelor's of Accounting, or Bachelor's of Arts in Bachelor of Arts in Accounting. And I was a financial analyst for the Federal Reserve Bank after college, and for a while. It wasn't a good fit. But I did a lot of stuff in the financial realm for quite a while, and then got really, really sick. And I won't go into deep detail on here. If anyone has questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but I mean, it's a long story. So anyway, got really, really sick, had to quit my job. Was just working at a little clothing boutique, and I got pregnant with our twins. I was decorating the nursery, and this is so typical of me, decorating the nursery and could not find gender neutral bedding I liked. We knew we were having a boy and a girl. Everything that was gender neutral was like tan. So I told my mom, I wasn't working at the time, and I'm like, you're going to teach me to sew, and we're just going to make the bedding because I know what I want the nursery to look like in my head, and so we're going to do this. My mom had probably not sewn much since, I don't know, maybe when my sister and I were young. She used to do a lot of smocking and that kind of thing. But she worked a full-time job, and, that was just kind of when we were young. So anyway, I got a sewing machine for my birthday, a Costco sewing machine. It was a brother. It's a brother. Still have it. My kids use it now. And we muddled through. I was literally 6 months pregnant with twins. I was huge. On the floor in my basement, and we figured it out and did their whole nursery bedding, everything, curtains, all of it. But that is what gave me the sewing bug. So I was pretty much, whenever I could get a chance when the kids were napping. Obviously, I was very busy the first couple years of their life, but I was obsessed with sewing. It was kind of my creative outlet. So that was June of 2006 that I first started sewing, that we made the baby bedding. They were born in September of 06. So since then, yes, it has just been I was self-taught. Sorry, my tablet just turned off. And I don't think... Okay, I'll talk about this a little bit here. So when we moved to Indiana 7.5 years ago for my husband's job, I took my first garment making class, and the teacher and I, it was at our local fabric store, and the teacher and I hit it off like immediately. She had been a professional seamstress for, I think at the time, like 44 years, and we just hit it off. And so she's my biggest and greatest mentor. Her name is Joyce, and she took me under her wing and taught me everything. And then in that process, she was retiring and selling her business to another gal who was we're the same age. And she had recommended me to Sarah. So as Sarah was starting growing her business, and mostly bridal at this point, bridal alterations and that kind of thing, I apprenticed with Sarah. And so I was part of the business deal. So Sarah bought Joyce's business as Joyce retired and got me in the process. And I worked for Sarah for a couple of years until decided to kind of do my own thing and go my own way with custom sewing. And yeah, so that's kind of my story. Okay, what is my favorite proudest make? Oh geez, this is a hard one. Well, I think my proudest make, again with Joyce and Sarah. So Joyce, like I said, had been a professional seamstress for over like 45 years by the time she retired, I think. But she had a connection with the Pence family. So our vice president, Pence family. So of course they're from Indiana, and she had done Karen's wedding dress, a custom wedding dress when they first got married. And then did some other sewing for Karen, because I'm in the Indianapolis area, and that's of course where the governor and everything, it's the state capital. So anyway, Joyce had done Karen's inauguration dress for when she became First Lady of Indiana, when Mike was the governor here in Indiana. So when the elections in 2016, Karen called Joyce and wanted her to do the inauguration gowns for her two daughters, her daughter-in-law, but two dresses for each, because there was a presidential inauguration ball and an Indiana inauguration ball that they needed dresses for. So under extreme cover, Joyce called, because she was retired at this point, so she called Sarah. Of course, I was working for Sarah at the time, and 4 other seamstresses. And is that right? 4. There were 6 of us total, 3 other seamstresses. So there were 6 of us total, and we hunkered down in Sarah's basement from the beginning of December. Let's see. It would have been right after Thanksgiving. And we made 8 dresses for the presidential inauguration in 6 weeks. So that's probably my proudest make, and all of that can be seen on my blog. I listed all the dresses that we made for both Karen, her 2 daughters, and it was a brand new daughter-in-law at that point. Anyway, that was probably my proudest make, just because of the situation, and got to meet Karen. She was very kind, very nice. All politics aside, we enjoyed Karen, enjoyed her daughters and her daughter-in-law. They were all very friendly, very nice, very down to earth. So yeah, anyway, that was probably my proudest make. But my favorite make, gosh, I don't know, maybe any of the coats that I've done, just because they get the most wear. I'm gonna do a video more on my favorite coat patterns, I think, just as we're getting into the colder months. So I'll talk a little bit more about those in a future video, so just stay tuned for that. Okay, what is your most disastrous make? I should have thought about these a little bit more. I've had many disastrous makes. There are tons of projects that get to a certain point, and then I'm like, this is horrible. And it still happens to this day. I still will, maybe the fabric's not quite right, or maybe I've made too many concessions on the size and trying to make it work when it's not going to, whether it be too big or too small. But that was like the biggest pattern or the smallest pattern size I had, whichever way. Let's see, maybe the most recent, like, funniest kind of one. I made a flannel button-down shirt for my husband for Christmas, maybe 2 years ago now, and it was the first shirt I'd made for him. I'd made button-down shirts and stuff, of course, for myself, and I even actively thought about it because men's buttonholes are on the opposite side of the shirt than women's buttonholes, and I thought I even looked at one of his shirts to make sure I was putting the buttonholes on the right side, and totally didn't. I put them on the right side when men's buttonholes are on the left side. And he literally, I guess it's just the way his brain works because he's put on button-down shirts the other way so many times. But he literally can't button it himself. We call it his Christmas blouse because I gave it to him for Christmas. He wears it because, no one else notices that kind of thing, but I literally have to help him put it on because his fingers, don't work that way. It's very bizarre. But anyway, that kind of comes to mind. My favorite place to go fabric shopping. Okay, in real life, a couple of places. So again, I live in Indiana, and there is a sewing store down in Evansville, Indiana, called Let's Sew, that is amazing. It's huge. It's in a smaller town. Not teeny tiny, but a smaller town, Evansville, Indiana. It's in the southwest corner of Indiana, and they have everything. It's amazing. It's so much fun to go in there. We can spend like a whole day with my sewing friends. And then the other place, but that's like a 3-hour drive from Indianapolis. Or we can go 3 hours north and hit Chicago. And I really love the textile outlet. I always get the name wrong. I think it's Textile Outlet that's in Chicago. And then, of course, there is Fishman's that's in Chicago. And let's see, Vogue Fabrics that are in Chicago. Those are kind of like my in real life, favorite ones. Online, I really love visiting any indie online sewing shops. So if you know of any, let me know. I love Emma One Sock. I've recently ordered from Smuggler's Daughter, and I was very impressed with her. I just love the customer service that comes with that. Style Maker Fabrics. Occasionally I'll do fabric.com. Occasionally, not a lot. I just did a fabric.com haul. But occasionally I will. It's much easier probably for me to do online shopping because I don't get to the actual stores very often. Let's see. What else? I'd love to go to New York. Drop me off in the garment district. But yeah, Style Maker Fabrics. Let's see. Fabric Mart. I will get on there when they're having their big sales occasionally and find some really neat pieces. Blackbird Fabrics is one of my favorite. Stone Mountain and Daughter is a favorite one. I'm sure I'm missing some. But yeah, those are just some of my favorite ones. Okay, what is your most used pattern? Oh, guys, this changes all the time. I have a ton of patterns, and I will make multiples of patterns if I really like it, especially if it's a basic. I've made 1 million of the Cashmere Concord tees. I've made 1 million of the Grain Line Lark tees. I've made 6 pairs of ginger jeans. But as far as the Tilly and the Buttons patterns, I'm finding fit me really well. I like those. Closet case patterns fit me really well. I don't know. I don't have one favorite pattern, I don't think. It's just kind of, my style is evolving all of the time. I like the Big Four, too. I love delving into their patterns as well and making them my own. And the Big Four are kind of nice because I know exactly the changes that I need to make to the patterns to make them fit me. So that's always great. Okay, so I don't really have a most used pattern. It just kind of depends. So, okay, my most dreaded sewing task. Unpicking. Hands down. I have to unpick all the time. I hate doing it. I am not a perfectionist when it comes to sewing. And so I am definitely one that will fudge it if I can, or make the decision like, is it really that big of a deal to me that this top stitching is wonky, or that this seam allowance got folded up in this seam, or whatever, because I hate unpicking. I will unpick, but I really hate unpicking. My favorite sewing task? Gosh, this kind of depends on my mood as well. Because yeah, sometimes I love the design process. I always love the design process. Going through my fabric stash, buying other stuff to go, planning capsules. I love the design and the planning process. That might be my favorite. But I also really love when everything is cut out and interfaced and I have a nice little pile that I just have to sit down and sew. I love that. And when I can just knock out a project with 4 or 5 hours of uninterrupted time, which is how I did my recent Mimi G blazer. It was just a Saturday, and I sat down in actually chunks because we were building our pantry at the same time, our new pantry. But I like that as well, when I can just sit and go. Okay, let's see. What is my favorite? Making sure I didn't miss anything here. Okay, the dreaded and favorite. Sorry. Number 9. What is your favorite sewing entertainment? I have a TV in my sewing room, and I had Google Chrome, and I would watch Netflix and stuff. Actually, just having the sound on in the background. I love murder mystery, that kind of stuff. Police, crime, those kind of shows. I also really love documentaries. I like having those on in the background. I feel like I'm actually learning something a lot of the times while that's going. But my Google Chrome quit working. We got a new router for our internet, and it totally just quit working. Like, it doesn't want to talk to it at all. So I think we are actually getting Hulu here pretty soon and getting rid of our cable. So if that happens, I'm actually going to we have a Roku for our TV in the living room, but I might just get myself a Roku too for the basement, and then I could watch Hulu and all that kind of stuff, because I do like having background noise on occasionally. Sometimes I'll listen to podcasts. Sometimes like business. I love Mimi G's podcast. The business shit, SHET. I love listening to that. I love to Sew podcast, of course. Let's see. I listen to some some Christian podcasts. I like to listen. Revive Our Hearts is one of my favorites. And that's just kind of depends on my mood. If I want to be having something that I'm listening to, I very rarely listen to music, but I do kind of like, a lot of times my sewing room is just silent though, and I'm just like lost in my thoughts. I don't know if anyone else is that way, but sometimes it's just good to like, just let my brain go. So that's sewing entertainment. Printed or PDF patterns. I like Big Four printed patterns. If I am buying indie patterns though, I mean, obviously Big Four only come printed. Because is this a question too? Okay, yeah, it's not a question. I am team cut. So if it's a printed indie pattern, I will trace it, or like a book or whatever, I will definitely trace it. But if it is like a Big Four pattern that I've gotten on sale, a lot of times I'll cut it. For a while, I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just trace it. You know, if my daughter wants something made out of that. But then I got to thinking, no, my daughter doesn't want anything that I've made for myself. She'll go through the patterns and pick out what she wants, but she doesn't want me to be wearing the same thing. So I really just cut into those as well. Now with indie patterns, I love a PDF if it comes with a copy shop file. So one problem with the Tilly and the Buttons patterns, I always buy their printed patterns because they don't have the copy shop option, or at least last time I checked, they don't. It's only the PDF that you print at home, and I hate taping together patterns. Hate it. So a lot of times I'll get the copy shop and then send it off to PDF plotting, and then I'll just cut into those. Because, yeah, it's just another extra step. I'm very much into efficiency and quick. I mean, I like to sink my teeth into a good slow project occasionally too, but when it comes to tasks like that don't need to be perfect or whatever, quickest is best. So yeah. That kind of answers that. What sewing machine do you use? Okay, I have a Janome Memory Craft 9700 it's an embroidery machine as well, and it was my main machine up until the beginning of 2017. 2018. How long have I had my industrial? It may have been 2017. Yeah. It was the beginning of 2017. So I've got the Janome Memory Craft, and I use it for any zigzag stitching, that kind of stuff, buttonholes. So I mean, I still use it, and obviously embroidery function. But my main sewing machine is my Juki 9000. DL 9000. And I think that's right. And it is an industrial sewing machine, and it has changed my life. It is so fast. Everything is controlled by the foot pedal. I can raise and lower my presser foot with the foot pedal. I can backstitch with my foot pedal. I can cut my threads with my foot pedal. It goes like, if I compare because my Janome it's a very, very nice machine. In fact, it was about twice the price of my Juki industrial machine. But if I, it goes about 30 miles, 35 miles an hour compared to my Juki that'll go 100 easy, you know? Like, I can just fly through with my Juki. And I don't even take it full speed most of the time because it's almost too fast for me. So, I love my Juki. And then I have a Baby Lock Evolution serger. It's a serger cover stitch combo that I use. So those are my three main machines. I have a couple of other sewing machines. I have an old 1961 Singer that folds down into the table. My son used to call it my secret sewing machine when he was little because it folds down to the table. But it's all like mechanical. I've had it refurbished. I don't use it, and I should, and it's a shame. I have my mother-in-law's old sewing machine that is a Singer, maybe, that she's given me. It does need to be refurbished. She got it for a high school graduation gift, and it's just literally was still in the box, hadn't been used. And then my kids have my old brother that they use. And I think that's everything. I think that's all my machines. Okay, do you have any other hobbies? Yes, I do. So I am I've always been interested in creative crafts, and I get into a lot of things, but it would always be one of those where I'd be like really into knitting, and then all of a sudden nothing. You know, it takes me forever to finish a sweater because I'll be really into it for like a couple weeks and then nothing for like 2 months. So I do knit. Love to knit socks because those are quick. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. And I've knitted a couple sweaters, and I'm knitting a cabled sweater actually right now. So I do knit. I love embroidery. I find that to be very fun. Really any needlework. I got into smocking for a while. Haven't done that in a long time though. And cross stitch. I think that's kind of fun to do. I play golf. So my husband and I golf a lot, and also with our kids both golf as well. So we like to do that as a family. I love to read. I think that's about, that kind of sums it up. I'm really getting into the video editing and that kind of side of YouTube, so that's kind of a fun little hobby too. My kids are pretty creative, and they kind of get into that kind of stuff as well. So, and then of course sewing. So anyway, I think that about wraps it up for this, the Seamstress Tag. If you have any questions, or if there's nothing I answered, you want more in depth or whatever, just leave a comment. Let's see, this week I've got my Mimi G suit for my next capsule that it's all finished, and I'm gonna do a styling video on that, different ways that I'm styling the jacket and the pants separately and then also together. So that'll be out at the end of this week. I thought with this little mini capsule, I may break up the whole thing into a couple of different videos, like showing a few different things. And then at the end, of course, do a whole big lookbook, and then also mixing that lookbook in with stuff from the Sew Over It, because those were kind of designed to all go together. So that's it for today. So again, leave some comments, subscribe if you haven't already, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and I will see you soon. Bye.